Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on which part of the world you're coming from. Thank you so much for being here today, and welcome to our IELTS speaking and writing webinar. So this webinar is going to be a two parts. It's going to delve into two parts of the test that can feel intimidating, not because the English is difficult, but because expressing ideas clearly, quickly, and with structure takes practice. Today, we are going to demystify the scoring, talk about the kinds of answers examiners actually want, and most importantly, put things into practice. Expect real examples, practical tips you can use right away, and a few mindset shifts that can make all the difference. So settle in, grab a notepad if you'd like, and let's get started. So to help us do that is no other than our IELTS facilitator, Joseph Osei Bunsu. Joseph, you have the floor.
All right, thank you very much. And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you find yourself. As able boss, the managing director of Kasa De Lengua introduced me, my name is Joseph Osei Bonsu, and once again, I happen to be your facilitator for today's webinar or this month's webinar as part of our monthly webinar series. Okay, so today we're going to do something quite engaging and more interesting. And today's focus is on academic speaking and writing masterclass. And we're going to focus on two competencies or two aspects of IELTS. That is IELTS academic speaking and IELTS academic writing. So today we are doing two competences in one webinar. Normally we do one competence for each webinar. Today we are doing two competences in one webinar. And so that's what we're going to do today. All right, so join me as we zoom into what we have for today. As I mentioned, it is academic speaking and writing masterclass. So we are going to look at some tips on how to succeed with IELTS academic speaking and IELTS academic writing. So join me as we zoom into it. All right. Okay, so today's focus areas, I believe, right. So today's focus areas, we have IELTS academic speaking, we are going to look at the format, the expectations, and the band requirement, right? So we are going to look at the format, the expectations, and the band requirement. And for the second thing we're going to look at today is the band descriptors that are going to be explained. So we are going to explain the band descriptors. We are going to look at the assessment criteria for both the speaking and the writing competencies in IELTS, right? And third one we're going to look at today, third focus is high band speaking techniques. So we're going to learn some techniques that we can employ on the test day to get a higher band score. So we're going to look at some strategies to achieve band 7 plus, right? And what we are going to look at, the fourth thing we are going to look at is academic writing structure. The academic writing structure. We are going to look at logical organizations and effective argumentation. That is very important in academic writing. That's two. So we are going to also look at this today. All right. And the fifth thing we are going to look at today is we are going to dive into the task two. We are going to delve deeper, much deeper into task two, academic writing task two. Our previous webinar, when you visit our channel, you will find it there. We delved into task one. Today we're going to look at task two of the academic writing IELTS. and we are going to look at some question types and response frameworks. That is also one important thing that we can look at during IELTS academic writing. All right, so before we move on, let me explain this right here that IELTS has four competencies, and we are doing two of them today. We have writing, we have listening, we have speaking, and we have reading. Today we are looking at writing, specifically task two, and we're also looking at speaking, right? And speaking, we don't have task one and task two. We just have three sections, and we're going to explain it much better as we move on. All right, let's quickly move on and to what we have for today. Okay, okay. All right, so let's look at the speaking test format. All right, so while speaking, let's look at the test format. We have three sessions, as I mentioned. We have the first session, that's the first part one, that is introduction and interview. So this is basically an interview session with you and the examiner, right? You have the examiner right in front of you. It's a one-on-one session, and it's just you and the examiner, and it takes up to 4 to 5 minutes, right? So the examiner is going to ask you personal questions about familiar topics. It could be about studies, it could be about work, it could be about your hometown, where you're from, and your hobbies, right? And your responses are supposed to be natural and short, not just short. Uh, what I mean, just short, rude answers. No, I mean when the examiner asks you, are you in school? And you just say yes, and you just expect the next question from the examiner. No, short, a little bit detailed, but just concise. It should be brief and but concise responses. At least you should speak about two, three, 4 lines. A little bit expressive. You should be a bit expressive. You should express yourself. And so that's one thing you're going to look at when it comes to introduction and interview part of the IELTS speaking. It is very important that your responses be expressive, and it's also very important your responses become or your responses are that short but not too short in a way to sound rude to the examiner. Right now, the second part, that is a long term, is part is a part two, and it takes about 3 to 4 minutes, right? And here you have 1 minute preparation time. Now, this is how it's going to be. Have you are going to be given a task card where you have a question on it, and you have what you're supposed to say, right? So a general question, I mean, a general question on a task card. Now you read a question and you have just 1 minute to prepare, and you have to speak for about a minute to 2 minutes, uninterrupted. Now this is what you're going to do. You prepare. You don't just write what you're going to say, but you rather bullet your points on a sheet of paper that you're going to be given to prepare. You don't write exactly what you're going to say. You rather bullet what you're going to say and just flow with it. So you have just 1 minute to prepare a monologue of about 2 minutes, and it can be real if you are able to prepare very well, if you're able to prepare constructively and with some tact, and you also are supposed to also sound you also are supposed to sound uh, brief, and you're supposed to sound detailed enough, right? So it's very important that you prepare within that time frame, because when the 1 minute's time is up, your examiner is going to ask you to stop preparing and start speaking. And so you have a minute's preparation time, you have 2 minutes uninterrupted monologue, and you have before that, you have a cue card with guiding points provided. As I said, the cue card is you have your questions on it, and it's going to tell you what exactly the examiner expects of you, or what exactly the examiner expects you to say. It's very important you take all this into consideration when preparing. Okay, now let's look at the third part. That's the last part or the final part of the speaking session of the IELTS. That is a discussion part. Here, when you're done with your introduction and your interview with the examiner about your personal details, about familiar questions about studies, work, hometown, hobbies, and you are done giving the examiner the short but natural responses, you come to the long term where you're being given a minute to prepare. When you're being given a task card or a cue card, where you're going to be given a minute to prepare for it for that topic. So you speak for about 2 minutes uninterrupted. Now you come in with your discussion part. Here's a case: the discussion part is one way or the other linked to the long term part, where you had a 2 minutes uninterrupted monologue. Right here, the discussion is one way or the other linked to it. Now you're going to have more abstract analytical questions from the examiner about the similar topic or the same topic you spoke about or you had a monologue on in the second part. And here your questions that are being posed to you requires critical thinking. And so you're supposed to think deeply. You're supposed to think much critically before you can be able to answer such questions. And you answer the questions with some in-depth analysis of what you know from your own knowledge. And it's not going to be any question that is technical. It's a general question that everyone can have something to say about. And so you just need to flow. You don't just give your examiner straightforward answers and short read answers, but you give your examiner expressive responses from what you know. All right. All right. So let's look at the speaking band descriptors. Let's look at the speaking band descriptors. Let's look at the speaking band descriptors. All right. We have a band seven candidate who performs consistently across all assessment criteria. Understanding these four pillars is essential for targeted improvement. All right, so you need to understand, these criteria that have been listed. First of all, you need to understand that fluency and coherence is very important when the examiner is assessing you for the speaking test. Fluency and coherence is really, really important. Now, your smooth flow of speech with logical development idea. Your speech is supposed to flow smoothly with the logical development of your ideas. All right. So you have to have a minimal hesitation or self-correction or repetition. Now, when you're speaking, you shouldn't be correcting yourself. You shouldn't be you shouldn't be. Be too hard. Don't be too hard on yourself. When you're speaking, just flow. Just make it sound conversational. Make it sound natural. Have it in mind that you're having a conversation in with the examiner, and you're not supposed to. To be too hard. You're not supposed to feel nervous, get nervous, and to be don't be too hard on yourself. Just flow. Just go with it, right? And when you're done, you don't repeat whatever you're saying. You just say one thing, you move on to the next thing you're going to talk about. And so you're supposed to be able to use effective discourse markers, right? Effective discourse markers. You should be able to use linking words. I mean, words and discourse markers that will make your speech or whatever you're talking about sound natural and sound conversational enough. Now, the next thing we are looking at is lexical resource. Now, the wide range of vocabulary that you are supposed to use should be used in a natural manner. Now, accurate collocations and effective paraphrasing, and also topic specific terminology demonstrate your language command. And so, you are supposed to speak with some in-depth knowledge on the topic you're going to be how do you call it, quizzed on or assessed on, right? So your range of vocabulary should be high. Your range of vocabulary should be used in a very natural manner. That shows that you have the command over the language. Now, the third point or the third criterion you should also look at is grammatical range and accuracy, right? Grammatical range and accuracy. You should be able to mix both simple and complex sentences or sentence structures with precision. You should be able to mix simple and complex sentence structures with precision. Now, consistent grammatical control with only occasional and non-systematic errors should be encouraged, right? So you should be able to you should be able to be very consistent with your uh, grammatical control and with only occasional or non-systematic errors, right? It is very important that you look at all these things, right? Now, the last criterion we are looking at is pronunciation. This is very important. Your pronunciation should be clear, it should be articulate with appropriate word and sentence stress, right? So your natural intonation patterns and rhythm that enhance communication should also be encouraged. Now, natural intonation, I mean, you shouldn't sound artificial. You shouldn't try any accent or any intonation that is not yours. Just because IELTS is from the British Council and British Council is from the UK, shouldn't shouldn't mean that you should by force speak the British accent. Just be natural with your Ghanaian or whichever country you're from, your natural accent, use your natural accent and your intonation. Just make sure your pronunciation of your words are on point. It is very important, please. All right. Now let's look at what we have next. All right. Now let's look at fluency techniques for Band 7 plus candidates. Right. Let's look at fluency techniques for Band 7 plus candidates. How do you sound fluent? How do you sound fluent? It is very important to know this. So, fluency isn't about speaking quickly, it is about maintaining a steady, natural pace whilst demonstrating control and coherence. Now, you should be able to avoid un, unusual fillers. You should rather encourage natural fillers. Now, for you not to be having uninterrupted pauses or you don't break uninterruptedly when speaking, you rather use filler words like well, actually, to be honest. That's an interesting question. If let's say you are thinking about a question that has been posed by the examiner, right? You use natural fillers like well, actually, to be honest, that's an interesting question. You use these natural filler words to make yourself expressive or to fill in those spaces, those unnatural spaces when you're thinking about a question, right? And also, you should be able to organize your responses very well. So if you you're talking about you are having a discussion or you are having a pattern, you should be able to use the pattern in such a in such an accurate manner. So if you are have an idea, you talk about the past, you now come to the present, you now move on to the future or general, then you move on to the specific of that idea, and also you give an example of that idea. And so that's how you go about it when you are when you are having an idea pattern, right? These are another way of sounding fluent or speaking fluently. All right. Now the third part is expansion techniques. Now add explanation to whatever you're saying, to your ideas or to your point that you've been able to raise. Add explanation to it, explanations to it. Provide an example, then offer a follow-up detail, right? So if you're talking about, let's say, how AI has come to help us in a current dispensation, whenever you bring an idea, don't just leave it there, add explanation to it. Provide a practical example that everyone can relate, then offer a follow-up detail, right? A detail of what that particular AI has come to help us in our daily lives. It is very important you do that. You do all this while speaking, and you employ these techniques to make you sound fluent. Okay, now let's look at the last criterion or the last technique, that is smooth linking. Smooth linking. You For you to sound fluent, one thing you can't do away with is linking words. Linking words such as to start with, to begin with. Secondly, or the second point is furthermore, moreover, in contrast, on the other hand, you can't do away with these linking verbs, or sorry, linking words. You should employ them all the time so you could sound natural as much as possible, right? So you employ these fluency techniques so you can be able to express yourself and get a high band score in a speaking session. All right, let's look at vocabulary and paraphrasing when it comes to speaking. Vocabulary and paraphrasing. It is very important you know how to use vocabularies rightly and accurately. And you should also be able to paraphrase your responses in such an accurate manner. Right. Now let's look at topic specific vocabulary. Now, whenever you are being given a subject to speak on, especially in the part two of the IELTS speaking, you should be able to use specific topic vocabulary, if possible, technical words or words you know from your own personal knowledge, right? So you demonstrate depth by using field specific terms and environmental degradation, technological innovation, cultural preservation. These are field specific terms you can employ or you can use while speaking. And it shows you have the command over the language. It shows you are widely read. It shows you know what you are saying. It is very important that you employ these words or use these words while speaking, especially in the part two. Now, you should be able to paraphrase the question. When the question is being given to you as your introduction to to introduce your ideas, right? Or as a preambulatory statement to introduce your ideas, you can rephrase or paraphrase the question itself. Now you rephrase the examiner's words using synonyms like enjoy, be keen, on, and have passion for, right? You use these synonyms to paraphrase the examiner's words or the question that has been posed to you, right? And now you use natural collocations, use authentic word partnerships, you use words like make an effort, heavy traffic, rapid development, widespread consent, sorry. And you avoid basic words. You avoid some basic words like good, bad, big, small, very, red, really, a lot of many. These words are not bad. You are just avoiding them to show, and you're not just avoiding them. You're rather replacing them with a precise alternative to show your command of the language. These words would rather avoiding these words and replacing them with precise alternative would rather increase your band score, rather inform the speaker, sorry, the examiner that you know what you're about. It is very important you do so. And so you use precise alternatives such as beneficial, detrimental, considerable, minor, particularly, remarkably, a significant number of numerous. These words are not grammatically correct. They are grammatically correct. The words that you're supposed to avoid are not grammatically incorrect. They're also grammatically correct. But just so you let the examiner know you have wide range of vocabulary and you don't just use basic words. You can also use a little bit advanced words to show the command of the language. You can employ these words whilst when you're speaking or when you're having your speaking test with the examiner. All right, let's look at let's look at grammar and pronunciation enhancement. Grammar and pronunciation enhancement. Still on the speaking session. Let's look at grammar and pronunciation enhancement. All right, now we have delved or we have zoomed into some strategies or some techniques that would you can employ to sound natural and sound fluent, and also some strategies you can employ to, I mean, have a wide range of vocabulary and also have for you to be able to paraphrase your responses to the examiner. Now let's look at grammatical range and accuracy, and also pronunciation enhancement. Okay, first of all, you should be able to mix complex structures, that is conditionals, relative clauses, passive voice. You should be able to mix these complex structures to show that you have a higher range in grammar. Secondly, you should be able to maintain accurate tenses throughout your responses. If you're using the past tense, maintain the past tense throughout your responses. If you're using the present, maintain the present tense throughout your responses. If it's a future, you maintain such tense throughout your responses. You don't just mix the tenses up and down. If you're using the past, you just the next thing you're talking about, you're using the future tense or the present tense. No, you use one tense throughout, and it shows that you have a higher range of grammatical accuracy, and it shows that you know your tenses, you know when to use them and when not to use them. Third, you avoid fragment sentences. You you have to rather complete your thoughts. Don't use sentences where that would leave the examiner in limbo. You rather make your thoughts complete to the examiner. And the last on the list is you use modal verbs for nuance. So you use modal verbs like might, could, would. These are modal verbs you can employ just to address the nuances in whatever you're talking about. Now let's look at the pronunciation mastery. These are the techniques you can use to master your pronunciation. First of all, you need to use stress to highlight keywords in sentences. So if we are talking about something and you want to stress it or you want to highlight it, you rather stress the word. And secondly, you use the rising tonation for opinions and clarification. Right. So you have a conversation about something, you use the rising intonation for opinions and also for clarifications. You use clear articulation of consonant sound. It is very important. Clear articulation of consonant sounds. All right. And the third and last part for you to master your pronunciation is natural rhythm, not robotic, not overly dramatic. But your rhythm is supposed to be natural, not it shouldn't sound robotic. It's supposed to sound natural and not overly dramatic. I saw it dramatic. Now your pronunciation isn't about sounding native. It is about being clearly understood whilst maintaining natural rhythm and stress patterns. So, as I mentioned earlier, don't pronounce your words or don't use the accent or the intonation of the British. Just use your natural tonation. Just be clear and make sure you're being understood by your examiner whilst maintaining your natural rhythm and your stress patterns. All right, now that is all for the speaking session. Let's quickly move to and look at some few strategies we can employ when taking the IELTS academic writing test. Now, IELTS academic writing overview. We have task one, that is a report writing, and you need to write not less than 150 words. Here, you describe charts, maps, processes, or tables objectively, not subjectively, objectively. You focus on trends, comparisons, and key features. And for the task two, that is a essay writing. You write not less than 250 words. And here you write an argumentative or analytical response or argumentative essay. And this task accounts for 66% of your writing score. So clearly, this task should be taken serious as much as possible because it comprises 66% of your total writing score. Now, this is what examiners want. They want logical organization of your thoughts when you're tackling the writing session, especially the task two. That is where you're going to be subjective of to the topic that you're going to be given. For tax one, you're going to be objective. You're just going to report the data that has been presented to you in form of writing. But for tax two, you rather tackle the question both objectively and subjectively. Now you use clear structure with effective paraphrasing. That should make your organization logical. Your position is supposed to be clear enough. You should be consistent with your viewpoints and it should be maintained throughout. So if you state that this is your position, if you are for, or to what extent do you agree or disagree, whatever position you take, it should be consistent. You don't think the position in the first paragraph and in the third paragraph you're already changing your viewpoint. It is supposed to be consistent throughout your essay. Your next thing you're supposed to look at is your developed ideas. Your developed ideas. How do you develop your ideas? You, after explaining your viewpoints, you add relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. And these relevant examples are supporting each point, are supposed to support each point. So whatever point or each point you state, you are supposed to give relevant examples to support. It shouldn't be example per se, technically. It could be explanatory points that could enhance the point that you have already raised. And the last thing you should look at is academic tone. If it's academic writing IELTS that you are taking, you should use a formal register with accurate grammar. The formal register means you should use formal words or you shouldn't be using contracted words like won't, uh, I mean the am, you should rather use the formal register. You shouldn't be using contracted words. You should express yourself and use the formal register as it should be used appropriately. Now, let's look at the writing task two question types. Each question type demand a specific structural approach. Each question type demands a specific structural approach. Never mix your strategies. Never mix them. Recognizing a question type is a first step to a 7 plus response. You should be able to recognize the question type. It is very important. Now, first, your opinion is supposed to be clear. If you agree, you state that you agree and you support it with concrete points. If you disagree, you do same. So you state your position clearly and maintain it throughout your essay. You develop reasons or examples supporting your viewpoint. That is not or non-negotiable. You can't negotiate on that. Second, you discuss both views. It is very important to discuss both views. Your essay should be balanced, right? So even if you agree, you should have a point or a paragraph that is discussing the disagreement bit of your argument. So you present both perceptives, right? You present both perspectives fairly before stating your own opinion, and your balance is essential for coherence. Now, your balance is very important. It makes your essay coherent, well organized, and logical. Now, advantages and disadvantages, and that's another question type. When such question type comes up, you analyze both positive and negative aspects, and you may conclude with side outweighs the other. So if you analyze both, you may conclude with if the disadvantages outweighs the advantages. That is where you are supposed to conclude, or that's how you are supposed to conclude. And now your problem solution question type. When you encounter such question type, you identify specific problems, then propose realistic, well developed solutions with explanations. It is very important. So, not just the problems, but effective solutions as well, with explanations and with examples on how to go about it practically. And now, the last question type you're supposed to be able to identify and tackle it very well is double question, that is two parts. Now, when you have two parts or two questions in one, you should be able to address both questions equally. You shouldn't address one more than the other. You should be able to address both questions equally. You dedicate one body paragraph to each question for clarity. So if you are having two or three body paragraphs, you dedicate one paragraph for one question, you dedicate another paragraph for one question. And now probably the third question, you discuss both in a balanced way, probably, and conclude in that same paragraph. It is very important. So these are all question types that you should be able to approach them with clarity, with tact, and with effectiveness. So first one is opinion, question type. The second one is discussion, question type. The third one is advantages and disadvantages, question type. Problem solution, question type. And lastly, double question, or that is the two parts question type. It is very important you approach all these question types in the IELTS tax to with some precision, and you should know what you're about. All right, now let's look at the band descriptors as we viewed earlier for speaking. Let's look at the band descriptors for writing, academic writing tax 2. Now, understanding the assessment criteria allows you to target specific areas for improvement and also achieve your desired band score. It is very important. Now, your tax response should be completely performed. Let me put it that way. So you need to fully answer all parts of the question. Your position must be clear throughout the essay. You develop your ideas comprehensively with relevant specific examples. Second point, coherence and cohesion. You ensure smooth logical progression between ideas. You use effective paragraphing with clear topic sentences. You apply linking words naturally to avoid mechanical overuse. Now, the third one is lexical resource. You demonstrate a wide range of academic vocabulary. You make accurate word choices appropriate to context. You paraphrase with precision, and also you paraphrase by not repeating your language. The last one is grammatical range and accuracy. You employ a variety of complex sentence structures and you maintain a high accuracy with minimal errors. Error-free sentences should appear frequently throughout your writing. It is very important. So these are all band descriptors you should be able to know and use them effectively. Now, your final strategy is you need to practice writing to time limits. Here is the case you have just 1 hour for the whole writing session, and you have two tasks in the writing session. You have the task one, the task two. Now, we are being advised, or I'm advising you to use 20 minutes of that 60 minutes for task one and 40 minutes for task two. But whenever you're practicing, you set your time probably for 37 minutes, 38 minutes for the task two, and you prepare with under strict examination conditions. So you practice writing to time limits and you seek feedback on each criterion and analyze model essays to internalize high band structures and also vocabulary. And you may need an additional coach to help you with this, and that's why we are here. IELTS Kasa De Lengua IELTS Hub is here to support you with coaches that have the expertise in training candidates to achieve a higher band score. We have done it before. We have the records, and the record speaks for us. And so the records speak for us. And so we are here. Kindly reach out to us by visiting our website www.casadelengua.com and book our services. With regards to IELTS, you'll find our contacts there. You can just give us a call or send us a mail, and we'll be glad to assist you. Thank you so much for joining me in today's webinar. If you have any questions, please kindly ask. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Osaibunsu. That was quite
Madam, please kindly check.
loaded. Pardon?
Kindly check your microphone. I believe you are muted.
Oh, really? Is it better now?
That is very better. Better now.
Okay. So thank you very much, Mr. Osaibunsu. That was quite packed. We have some few questions here. So someone says that how can she sound natural and confident even when she feels nervous?
Okay. Can I answer?
Yes, please, you can.
All right. So that's a very interesting question. That's a very interesting question. Now, you should be able to still sound natural and confident even when you're nervous. That's how you're going to do it. That's why I mentioned that you use the natural filler words whenever you're feeling nervous or whenever you think you are stuck with a question. Now you can even ask the examiner to give you some few questions. So sorry, some few minutes to think about your question. It is very important. So you ask the examiner that could you give me some few minutes or some few seconds to think about my question. The examiner will gladly give you that time. You take that time to breathe in, you breathe out. You use natural flowers like well. To be honest, I think my my view on this subject or my view on this topic is that we use these natural flowers to ease tension. So it is important you employ these natural words, natural flowers, to get yourself calm so you can answer your question that you are being asked. I hope my answer is enough or my answer is appropriate or your question has been answered.
Okay, so thank you very much. Let's look at the next question. So this person says, what should I do if I don't understand a question in the interview? So the person wants to know what he or she should do when he or she doesn't understand a question during the interview.
All right, all right. That's an interesting one. That's an interesting question. Now let me answer that question. So you don't just sit apart and just assume that you can't ask the examiner to clarify the question that has been asked. No, you ask the examiner, I don't understand the question that has been asked. Could you please clarify, or could you please explain the question? Or probably if you can put it in a much more um, different way that I can easily understand what you're talking about. There's no harm in that. You're absolutely right to do that. So you can ask the examiner to explain the question that has been asked if you do not understand. It's very important.
Okay, so this person also wants to know if he or she would lose marks if he or she exceeds the word limit. The word limit.
The word limit for writing, yes, no
Yes.
problem. So
Yes.
so for writing, that's one thing. You might lose marks if you write way below than the expected number of words. Now, your instruction is not to write not less than 250 words, especially for task two. So let's say you're writing not less than 250 words, and you write about 150 words or 100 words, or even 170 words. You are far away from the targeted word count. Here, you're going to be penalized for that. You're going to lose marks for that. So it is very important you hit the target word count. So if it's 250 words, not less than 250 words, at least hit the 250 words. You might not be able to go beyond. But your 250 words or 250 words should be achieved. The goal should be achieved. It shouldn't be way different, or I mean, the difference shouldn't be so wide. You should be penalized for that. So you should be able to hit that word count that is not less than 250 words. So you'll be able to get a higher band score. Of course, you lose marks when you do not write the accurate, or when you do not hit the target word count. You would obviously lose marks.
So, is there any advice you'd give to someone who wants to improve his or her spelling or punctuation?
Okay, so this is the advice I would give to anyone who would want to improve your spelling and your punctuation. This is what you do. You do not start with I would say complex words or highly advanced words. You start with the little ones you know, you build on it, and you use them to write your essay. Then you start with the high or the advanced words, right? You start with the advanced words and you use those words to also build your essay. That is very important. So you start with the basic ones, you use that to build your essay, you use that to write your essay. Then you come up with the advanced ones. But the how to practice your spelling, you should be able to pronounce the words correctly in such a way that would make that will help you to be able to how should I do it? That will help you to be able to spell the words correctly. If you're able to pronounce them correctly, you can easily spell them correctly. So it is very important. It's as simple as that. Pronounce them correctly, learn the spellings, and you are good to go. If you mispronounce them, the spelling of such words will be difficult for you. And as I said, start with the basic ones and move on to the advanced ones.
Great. Now, someone also wants to know how he can write faster without losing clarity. How he can write faster without losing clarity.
Okay, so this all boils down to preparation. You prepare on this. You don't just wake up one day and say, I want to write faster whilst maintaining clarity. As we said, you just have 40 minutes to write 250 words or even more. Now, you don't start by writing whatever you have. You rather plan whatever you're going to talk about. So this is my plan. This is my introduction. This is how I want my introduction to be. You don't specifically write everything. You just bullet those points down. You come up with the next point. You move on to the next point. You just bullet the points down. It is very important. You plan your essay. This is how my essay wants to be. I want my essay to be my introduction, my body paragraph one, body paragraph two, and my conclusion. Now, if you're able to practice this under strict examination conditions for some time or for a very long time, you realize that you'll be able to master, you'll be able to master this easily. Very important. You realize that you'll be able to master this much easier. So you don't just wake up and say, I want to write faster. You practice with strict examination conditions. It is very important you do so. Right. I hope the question has been answered. All right. I will also add that you you plan yourself or you give yourself some time when you're preparing for the IELTS. It depends on your proficiency or your level in the English language. It depends on that, but you should be able to you should be able to plan yourself. If you're giving yourself 3 months, you should be able to do that. If you're giving yourself a year, you should be able to do that and plan adequately and effectively before you register for the exam. But then if you need any coaching, if you need any expertise to assist you as you are planning or as you're preparing to take a test, we are here to assist you with that.
Okay, so the last but not the least, and I think this question is very interesting and very important because we are in an AI era. So this person says, can AI tools help me practice speaking and writing effectively?
Okay. Yes, we are in an AI era, but there is one thing that you should have in mind that AI cannot do. AI, yes, we are saying AI can do almost everything, but yes, obviously everything has its own limits. So AI has its limits as well. AI is not able to have emotionally charged and extreme natural conversations. emotionally charged, and extreme natural conversations. And so, if you are practicing, yes, the AI can give you a roadmap, it can give you some guide, but the AI shouldn't dictate everything you're supposed to say to you. It wouldn't help you. You should be able to express yourself naturally and emotionally, right? Whatever you are talking about, it should be natural, extremely natural, coming from a human. It should sound human, and it should be emotionally charged. So that's one thing AI cannot do. The only thing you can use AI for is to give you a roadmap and also a guide as you're practicing for your IELTS test.
Thank you so much. And I believe this session has been very insightful. If you have any questions, you can send it to us via our email at support@casadelengua.com, at support at casadelengua.com, and would handle all your answers. You can also follow us on all our social media handles, Casa de Lengua. You can inbox us, send us a message, and we are going to attend to you. So if you didn't join us at the beginning, this IELTS webinar is coming to you from Casa de Lengua Limited. Casa de Lengua Limited is an IELTS registration center for the British Council. So we register you for your IELTS exams, and then we also train you before the registration. In addition to that, we also offer comprehensive language solutions ranging from translation, interpretation, language training. We also offer scholarship advisory services. So, as you can see, it's your one stop shop. If you need more information on what you do, you can also visit our website at www.casadelengua.com. And we always organize monthly webinars. So there's the scholarship webinars, there's the IELTS webinars. The scholarship webinars is twice a month, and then the IELTS webinar is once a month. So you can visit our website, go to the slot that has webinars, and look for the dates for our upcoming webinars. Thank you very much. Until next time, it's me, your one and only Danukia Glow. Enjoy the rest of your evening and have a wonderful weekend. Bye bye.